This is Gemara Basra, Daf Kuf Nun Hey, and we pick it up from the bottom of Kuf Nun Dalid Amid Bees, middle of a lengthy discussion. Rav Yanai, Rav Lazar, Rav Yechanan, as we'll see in a moment. And once again, we like all the learning to be an incredible zchus rafua shlema for Tinoik ben Miriam Ahuva b'siyata d'shmaya the koyach ha'tayra, which of course knows no bounds, should bring the ultimate Yeshuais and Rafua Bekarev. So holding on Kufna and Daladam and Bees, we're about 10 lines from the white lines. Rav Yechanan just responded to Rish Lakish that it wasn't a kasha. Why not? Because it was his Talmud Elazar. However, said Rav Yechanan, Ani lo yamarti davar zeh me'elam. I never said this. So the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Zir, and again, in a moment, you'll see what the kasha was, what the teretz was. Everything will become clear in a moment. Amar Rav Zira. Im Yichbar Rav Yechanan Rav Lazar Talmidai. If Rav Yechanan is kaifer, if Rav Yechanan says it wasn't me, it was Rav Lazar, my Talmud, then says the Rav Zira, Yichbar Rav Yanai Rabbi. Let Rav Zira also be kaifer in Rabbi Yanai, his Rabbi. What does that mean? Dam Rabbi Yanai Amar Rabbi. Rabbi Yanai as well shared the same opinion, that if someone is a maida, if someone admits that he wrote a shtar, sarich lekai moi. Va'amar Rav Yechanan responded, Rabbi, loy mishnah seinu hizu. Is this not our mishnah? This is not our mishnah which says that someone who's maida b'shtar, and yet a maida b'shtar shekasfu, but we said that it was a matnas shchivmara. The mishnah, again, going back to yesterday's daf and daf kufnun gimel, 2 days ago, I should say, the case was where he was mighty that he wrote the matana. However, he says he was a shchimera, meaning that the only reason why it was a good gift was because it was a matna shchimera. But of course, a matna shchimera carries the unique din that when one gets better, it is chayzer, it goes back. However, of course, that was the machlekes, that the person who's getting the gift said no, it was a matnas bari, and therefore you cannot retract. And on that, what do the Chacham in the Mishnah say? Olav haraya, which is the recipient. Ein raya, ella v'kiyim shtar. And Rav Yechanan says, what would raya mean? Kiyim shtar. So what's Rav Yechanan saying? Rav Yechanan is saying that when someone is maida b'shtar shekasvai, someone is admitting that there is a shtar, what is the halacha? The halacha is you have to be mekayim the shtar, even though there are no edim. So we see maida b'shtar shekasvai. So asks the Gemara that we see that Rav Zira is arguing Rav Yechanan. So Rav Yechanan, you would have to be kaifer, you'd have to deny in Rav Zira your Rebbe as well. 2 lines from the wide lines. However, says the Gemara, Baram, however, concludes Rav Zira near in Divi Rabbeinu Yosef. If you like, you could say that Rabbeinu Yosef is correct. Who's Rabbeinu Yosef? Danumar Rabbeinu Yosef, the last narrow line, I'm Rav Yudam Shmuel Zu Divri Chachamim. That did in the Mishnah that he has to prove that had he been a shchimera, that moitiv v'shar shekasvai, that's only the Chachamim, but says Rabbeinu Yosef or Rameir Aimer which says shekasvai shetzarch lekaimai. But Rameir says no, he would have to mekayim it. So Rav Yechanan could be saying like Rabbeinu Yosef. Umay divrei akol. Rav Yechanan in his statement, what did Rav Yechanan say? He said divrei akol. Everyone agrees. Moitiv v'shar shekasvai einoi tzarach lekaimai. So how can it be einoi tzarach lekaimai? Says the Gemara, D'Rabbanan legabi Rameir divrei akoli. It's true, it's not really a divrei akol, but in relationship to Rameir, the Rabbanan is everyone, and that's what Rav Yechanan meant. Says the Gemara, fancy footwork, but we have a kasha. But we have a problem. The Chachamim said, which would mean you would have to mekayim the shtar. Says Gemara, Epach, switch around the sheet of the Chachamim with Rameir. Says the Gemara, Vatanya, but we learned in a Braysin about Lapaisli div Rameir v'chamerim nemanim. So again, we have a stira. Says the Gemara, Nachamal Epach, switch that around as well. Says the Gemara, Rav Yechanan, Raya be'edim kamar Epach. switch that around as well. So we have 3 different cases we have to switch around to make this all make sense. Says the Gemara, Lema lepach nami tiyofta. Says the Gemara, so then should we also say back in Daf Kofna and Dalid that we should switch around the Shita is nami tiyofta and then it won't be a kasha? Says the Gemara, loi, that's going too far. Why is that going too far? Because hachi kamars. We turn over to Kofna and Hey Amid Aleph, and now we finally get the punchline. Hachi kamar. Says the Gemara, Rav Yochanan the Reish Lakish, as Rav Yochanan is saying to Reish Lakish, Beishlam Ladidi Damin Araya became Ashtar, that which was Rav Yochanan's battle cry the whole time. That what I mean, you have to bring a Raya, meant became Ashtar. I know the Mishkachas Lad and Nachdi Lekuchais Linechasim. Then it makes sense that they put the purchasers in the land, but says Rav Yochanan, according to you, that what? That the purchasers have to bring the raya, damid raya beidim. Why would they put the lekuchas in the land? Once they didn't have any edim, we would never ever let them be inside the land. So that's Rav Yochanan's response to Reish Lakish. So Amar lei Modin al-Chabeir. So that is Shitas Rav Yochanan. So Reish Lakish responds, Modin al-Chabeir. I am asking to you ba'arer of what? The b'nei mishpacha. The lav arer hu my kamri. However, if it's not a case of an era of b'nei mishpacha, then the lav arer the b'nei mishpacha, the lav aru. One more time. Ba'arer the b'nei mishpacha. The lav aru, that I am asking. So says the Gemara, so my kamri, what exactly was the era of the Bnei Mishpacha, which is not considered a good era? Says the Gemara, katanaya. Is it that they're saying that the one who sold the field is a katan? The problem is you can't say that era. Why? Because it's a chazaka. If you're going to tell me that the problem was that the seller was a katan, Edim would never signed on such a shtar. So that's the reason why the era of Bnei Mishpacha is not a good ear. So that really wraps up yesterday's sugya, which I admit is complicated unless we really did a thorough chazar of Daf Kuf Nun Dalid. Now, says the Gemara, this sort of brings us in to a new sugya. This really is a first cousin of the previous sugya. But says the Gemara, itmar. Now, what's going to happen right now is we just finished saying a din about a katan. That a katan obviously does not have a capacity in legal documents, etc. So says the Gemara, let's deal a little bit deeper. Itmar. Again, smack in the middle of Kuf Nun Hey Amid Aleph. First one in line is Gadol. Katan me'imas ha'imoiche b'nichsei aviv. At what point can a katan sell the property of his father? What age does a katan need to be to sell the property of his father? Again, this is more of a shayla on the Dina D'Rabbanan, as we'll see in a moment. So Rav Amar Rav Nachman ben Shmoneh Shana, you have to be 18 years old. Rav Huna Amar Rav Nachman mi ben Esrim Shana, you have to be 20 years old. As we'll see, Ella Michlala Itmar. Where was this Michlala? So Masiv Rav Zera. Maisa b'Bnei Brak. There's a story b'Bnei Brak Aviv, that someone sold the properties of his father, Umeis, and then he died. Uba b'nei mishpacha v'yaru, and the b'nei mishpacha came and they were me'arer, and they contended, loymar, katan haya, that he was a katan when he sold the properties of his father. Uba v'shalu b'shas misa, katan haya b'shas misa, that he was a katan at the time of the when he died. Uba v'shalu b'shavikiva. They asked Rabbi Kiva, Ma'u lebaitkan. Of course, it sounds familiar. We had this back in the previous dafim. Came to ask Rabbi Kiva, what is the story? Can we examine the body to know whether he was indeed a katan? Meaning, if they do a bedika on the mace and they find out that he had shtei seiros, he was a gadol. If not, not. Amar lehem. What did Rabbi Kiva respond? Yatem rashay lenavloi. Says Rabbi Kiva, no, you're not able to menavel. You're not able to defile the body, number one. Va'oid, number two, simanim ayilishtanah is lachar misa. Simanim always could change lachar misa. Meaning, even if you were to check in, not necessarily is it a raya. maybe la'achar misa, the body sprouted those hairs, whatever that means. That was Shitas Rabbi Akiva. So in this story, says the Gemara, so Bishlama, that was the case. Now we have a machlekes at what age you could sell. We had a machlekes whether it was 18 or 20. So says the Gemara, Bishlama ben Hashem Shana, ya. According to Mandam, that says that you could do a mechira once you're 18 years old, as we turn over to Kufnaneyam and Beis. Hainu de ka'asu va'amru le ma'ule ba'it koi. So it makes sense that the family members came to Rabbi Akiva and said, are we allowed to examine that until 18, there's a tzad at least, that maybe the boy did not have shtei tzairus. Eliamrid, but asked the Gemara, but if you're going to tell me that the age is mi ben esrim, that the age is 20, ki bod klei mayave, who cares if they checked the body? Vatanan, but we learned in a Mishnah that we've had in Yavamas, a Mishnah all over Shas. Ben esrim shalav shtei tzairus, yavi raishu ben esrim, vu asiris. And then the halach is he's a din of a sris, which means that he's be'etzem a gadol. And the halach is but you would have a din of a gadol. So checking the body for shtei cyrus is not going to help anything if it's us to do at the age of 20. And says the Gemara, so even if there were no shtei cyrus, it wouldn't help anything. So in the case that we just quoted, the fact that they suggested to check the body, l'chayra is a raya to the shita that at age 18 they could sell the father's properties. Says the Gemara, Lavit Marallah. Do we not learn in that Mishnah? Amar Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak Amar Rav Bushenol Dubai Simani Yisris. You can't stop say that you're a Siris. It's only if there are Simani Yisris. So therefore, it would make sense that even if you go with the sheet of 20 years old, then maybe they wanted to check the body to see if it had these Simanim. And Amar Rava, Dekanami, I'll bring you right. Dektani, Vuhu Hasris, Shmamina. The Mishnah says that Vuhu Hasris, meaning you have to check that he was Sris Ramina. That's a right. So we can't bring a right from here, whether it was 18 or 20. Now, so this was tangent number one. Once we spoke about the din of a katan selling properties, we got involved in the age, was it 18 or 20? We tried to bring a raya to the sheet to 18, and we said no raya. Continues the Gemara. Once we mentioned the din of Sris, we go on a little bit of a tangent off of that. We're about 10 lines down, but the first one line is loy. Someone does not have sirani sris, but he does not have shtei cyrus. Ad kama, until what age is he does not have a din of a sris because doesn't have sirani sris. Tani Rav Chia ad Rav Shenaisav. You have to wait till Rav Shenaisav, which we assume for this sake a person is 70. So Rav Shenaisav has to be 36. Rav Chia I kachish amar lebri. When they came to Ravani Rav Chia would say, if he's thin, Amrle Libri, tell him to gain weight. V'yabri, and if he gained weight, Amrle Lichash, he has to lose weight. Ta'ani simanim, because in order to get these simanim of gadlos, zimna, there are times, sometimes someone could be too thin, or someone could do too fat. So Rav Chia used to say that we have to be cognizant of the boy's bodily condition, as that might factor into a reason why he would or would not have simanim, and that's how Rav Chia would advise to enable the body to grow these simanim. We're about 20 lines down. The first one line is Ibayilahu. Continues the Gemara, Teich Zman, Klefnei Zman, Oikalachar Zman. Going back to the age you could sell the estate of a father. According to Rav, it was 18, Rav Huna was 20. During Teich Zman, during the 18th year, during the 20th year, what is the status at that time? Is it considered that he's a katan, or is it considered like he's a gadol? So Amar Rav Amram Nachman, Teich Zman is Kilaf Neizman, that he's a katan. Rav Bar Rav Shila Amram Nachman, Teich Zman is Kila Achar Zman. Vahadir Rava, and this din of Rava, that held that you have to be 20, as we saw in the bottom of Amar Aleph, La Beferish Itmar, Elo Michlala Itmar, was inferred that Teich Zman, there was someone that was within the time period. He was, this din of Rava, not the din that we saw in Amar Aleph of age 20. Din of Rava that we just saw right now, of Teich Zman is Kilaf Neizman, that he's din of a katan. That was inferred. Why? They someone in their 18th or 20th year came and sold property. You did nothing at all. Why is it nothing? Misham detech zman klef neizman. The reason is because he was either in the 18th or the 20th year in the first wide line, and therefore he has a din of a katan. But says the Gemara, no, that wasn't really the case. Vlohi hasam shtusi yisi rasa chazubei. In that case, they saw that the boy was a very silly davika mishacher lula avde because he was freeing avadim, and that's the reason why Rav avoided the sale. But could be if a boy was actually mature, then even within the 18th year, maybe Rava would have allowed it to stand. Continues the Gemara, Shalach le Gidol bar Menasha. On the second wide line, continuing at what age one could sell an estate. Yilamdenu Rabbein, Tinoikis Bas Araba Esrei Shanav Yamecha 14 and a day, Yodas Betimaso Matin Mao. But he knows how to deal with business. Mao, can that such a child sell the estate? Shalach le, Im Yodas Betimaso Matin, if the kid actually knows. The sale is good, and the buying and selling is valid. Says the Gemara of Lettinok. What do you mean? Why are you saying a kid is 14? Why don't you say, you said it the case is a bas esri shana. Excuse me, I missed that detail. A girl who's 14. Ask the Gemara, why don't you ask the question about a boy? Why are you jumping specifically to a girl? Says the Gemara, that was the story. So they asked about a girl who was 14. If that's the case, ask about 12-year-old via mechad. That was the story, and says the Gemara. That's why we stuck in that case. That's why we stuck in that case. One more raya, says the Gemara of Ahad Rava Lafeshin the Mechlala Itmar Nachamal. This is the third Rava that we see is not beferish. What was the case? The Upachs Ben Asrim. Son who was less than 20. He was less than 20, he sold the property of his father according to the din that Rava sent to Gidol Bar Menashe. But then he wanted to be Chayzer. Also, the Rava Amrle Karavai. Amrle Karavai. The relative said, Zil Achal Tamri. Vishadi Be Kashyase Be Rava. Go eat date to throw the pits in Rava's house. Rava's going to see you doing this. Rava's going to think that you're a shaitan. Rava's going to say it's not a good sale. Avad Hachi Amarle. So Rava said, Zavina La Zvine. It's not a good sale because clearly the boy doesn't know what he's doing. He's acting like a shaita. Ki gatzale shtar Amarle lekuchais Zolay Malay Rava Megalis Megillas Esther Bezuza Shtar Demar Bezuza. When they were writing down the shtar, so the one who bought the property said, "You want to see some money?" So Zilla Amarle Rava, go tell Rava if a scroll of Esther is a zuz. Shtar Demar Bezuza. Is the shtar Amar also a zuz? So Rav's going to say to charge a cheaper price. Azal Amarle Zvina. So Rava realized that this kid has a good business. The kid knows what he's doing. So Rava said, guess what? Zvina Zina, it is a good sale. So Amarle the Kreve. So we see that this battle between the Kreve and the Lekucha is he's trying to prove that the kid knows or doesn't know what's going on. Lekucha is Agmarua. So the relative said, what do you mean? The purchaser taught him to say that. But he doesn't really know anything about business. Amarle, oh. So Rava said, Misavra Masburi Le Savar. But they told him a good claim. He understood it. Even the Misvavi Levisavar made the other. If he's able to understand the good taina, he clearly knows. And the reason he acted rudely originally was because of Chutz Yisera, not because he doesn't have business. Rava realized that the fact that he was throwing dates was not because he was a fool of the pits, but rather he was just being mechutzif, and therefore Rava was chayzer. Rava said the sale was valid. We'll pick it up from here. B'siyata d'ishmaya.